Chapter 14:10. Soon, they had traveled more than 100 miles. However, the tunnel seemed to have no end. It was shockingly long, and they had not reached the end yet. The walls here seemed to be covered with inscriptions. Qiu Yingying whispered. Lu Ming glanced around. Indeed, the walls here were covered with inscriptions. The structure of the inscriptions was strange, and the combination was very strange. It looked very strange. Moreover, there was nothing strange about the inscriptions. They seemed to have lost their spirituality after a long time. Brother Lu, be careful. Qiu Yingying suddenly exclaimed. At this moment, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Without thinking, he moved a few meters to the side. Whoosh! A wisp of strange black thorns pierced the spot where Lu Ming was standing earlier. Whoosh! Whoosh! Then, another black thorn stabbed toward Lu Ming. Not only that, but it also stabbed toward Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao. Watch out! Lu Ming's figure flashed continuously, avoiding the attack of the black thorn. Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao also flashed and avoided the attack. However, they seemed to be in a sorry state. Despicable! It's Yin Feng. Qiu Yingying stared ahead angrily. Lu Ming saw Yin Feng standing under the wall. His palm was on the wall, and there was a flash of light. The black thorn had shot out from the wall where Yin Feng's palm was. Yin Feng had used a special method to activate the inscriptions on the wall to attack them. Hee, you're lucky. Yin Feng sneered. His body flashed, and he disappeared into the darkness in front of the tunnel. Despicable. Before the Saint Realm elders came in, they told us to be united, but Yin Feng secretly tried to kill us. Qiu Yingying gritted her teeth. Despicable. Qiu Hao also said with hatred. They had been in danger just now. They felt that the strange black thorn was extremely terrifying. If it had hit them, they would have died. Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly, but he did not say anything. After that, they became more careful and continued to move forward. After about 100 miles, light gradually appeared in front of them. It was no longer pitch black. The pressure in their hearts finally lightened. After walking for a while longer, everyone came to a halt. There was an abyss in front of them. The abyss had blocked their path. Above the abyss, there were 10 bridges leading to the other side of the abyss. However, in front of the abyss, there was a stone tablet with 4 words written on it, 9 deaths 1 life. 10 bridges meant 9 deaths and 1 life. What did he mean? Did that mean that out of the 10 bridges, 9 led to dead ends and 1 led to life? But how could he pass this? Which one was the way out? What should we do? Someone said. Isn't that simple? Find 10 people and test it out. Within the crowd, a cold voice sounded out. It was Yin Feng. Everyone was shocked. Finding 10 people to try this method was very simple. However, 9 out of 10 of them would lead to death. Those who tried this method would only have a slim chance of surviving. Who would be willing to try? Going there would be suicide. Isn't that simple? You, and you, get up. Yin Feng pointed his finger and selected 10 people. Among them were Lu Ming, Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, and the triplets of the Ruan family. Why should I go up and try? Impossible. If you want to go, then go. One of the people who was pointed out shouted. What are you shouting for? Lowly ants from a barbaric island. Our divine Dragon Valley has traversed a great distance to summon you here, allowing you to enter the great Emperor's mystic realm to obtain supreme opportunities. Are you not going to do anything? Now, it's time for you to do something. Yin Feng sneered. That's right. Go up quickly. With your strength, this is all you can do. Otherwise, why are you here? To eat and drink for free? Beside Yin Feng, another youth sneered. No, I'm not going. That youth shouted and shook his head. You're courting death. Yin Feng's eyes turned cold. His figure suddenly appeared beside that youth and punched out. Bang! That youth's body flew far away as he vomited blood. His aura was extremely weak. If you're not going, I'll kill you now. Yin Feng's eyes were as cold as lightning as he swept his gaze towards Lu Ming and the rest. Idiot! Lu Ming curled his lips. Lu Ming did not lower his voice and his voice spread far away. What did you say? Yin Feng glared at Lu Ming. Not only are you an idiot, even your hearing is bad. Lu Ming glanced at Yin Feng in disdain. Kid, it's time for you to contribute to the Divine Dragon Valley. Go up and scout. Do you want so many people to wait for you? If the other sects were to gain the upper hand, would you be able to bear the responsibility? Yin Feng shouted. The other local youths sneered as they watched. The other youths from the other continents looked on coldly. To them, it was best if Lu Ming went up. At least they would not have to take the risk. If Lu Ming did not go, what if Yin Feng found them? Since you want to contribute to the Divine Dragon Valley, why don't you go up yourself? Wouldn't it be more efficient? Lu Ming said faintly. Who do you think you are? Can your life be compared to mine? Yin Feng shouted coldly. Yin Feng, why are you wasting time with him? If you don't want to go up, just throw him up. The youth beside Yin Feng said coldly. At the same time, he strode towards Lu Ming. Kid, I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you. Do you want to go up yourself or do you want me to throw you over? The youth was wearing a purple robe and his face was cold. He reached out his hand and grabbed at Lu Ming. Throw him over, I think that's a good idea. Lu Ming sneered. The fledgling chaotic domain covered his body and he threw a punch at the youth. Boom! The purple-robed young man's body shook violently and he spurted blood from his mouth. Just as he was about to be sent flying by Lu Ming took a step forward and slapped the purple-robed young man's face. Paw! The crisp sound of a slap resounded as the youth's body landed heavily on the ground. The sound of bones breaking could be heard from his body. No one knew what the ground was made of, but it was unbelievably hard. It was impossible to damage it. The youth laid on the ground and wailed like a dying dog. Kid, how dare you? Impudent, how dare you hurt someone? You're just an ant from the desolate land, you're courting death. Everyone was shocked when Lu Ming beat up the purple-robed young man until he was half dead. Subsequently, more than 10 local youths shouted one by one, exuding a cold murderous intent. Their figures flashed and they surrounded Lu Ming. In their eyes, an ant from a desolate island dared to attack them. He was courting death. It seems that there are enough people to test the 10 bridges. Lu Ming sneered. What did you say? What shameless boasting! Die! A youth shouted and charged at Lu Ming. The next moment bang! Lu Ming's fist landed on his dantian. He let out a shrill scream and lay on the ground, unable to move. Xiao! 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 Ah! 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 Chapter 14:11. Everyone at the scene was stunned. Lu Ming was so strong. Those youths were the local elites of the Divine Dragon Valley. All of them had cultivated realm martial techniques and their combat abilities were powerful, far surpassing those of the geniuses from overseas. However, these people were powerless in the hands of Lu Ming. They were easily defeated by Lu Ming. Most of the youths were dumbfounded. A small number of people revealed serious expressions. Yin Feng. After taking care of the youths, Lu Ming looked at Yin Feng. Whoosh! With a move of his body, Lu Ming walked toward Yin Feng. Enough! A cold voice was heard. A young man with a cold expression appeared beside Yin Feng and looked at Lu Ming coldly. Enough? Who do you think you are? Get lost! Lu Ming shouted. The youth's eyes darkened and he said, You are from the same sect. I don't think there is a need for you to stay in the Dragon God Valley. Now, you have no share in this secret realm. Go back. Get lost. Lu Ming's reply was even simpler this time. He only had one word. You are courting death. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you are strong. I will show you what true strength is. The youth said coldly, and the roar of a dragon came from his body. Roar. Then, the youth let out a roar that sounded like a dragon's roar. He bent his fingers like a claw and grabbed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming saw a real dragon grabbing at Lu Ming. Innate spiritual body. Lu Ming's heart stirred. As soon as this young man attacked, Lu Ming could sense that he was like Yin Feng. He also had an innate spirit body. Moreover, it was a special dragon body. Boom! When the youth attacked, a terrifying force came from behind Lu Ming. It was Yin Feng. He took the opportunity to sneak an attack on Lu Ming. You are courting death. Facing the encirclement, he did not panic in the slightest. His figure flashed as he dodged the claw in front of him. With a twist of his body, he sent a palm strike at Yin Feng. Yin Feng's expression changed. He did not expect Lu Ming to react so quickly. He wanted to retreat, but it was already too late. Bang! Lu Ming's palm struck his fist, causing his entire body to tremble as he staggered back. Lu Ming circulated his primal chaos domain and used the suppressing hell heavenly skill to attack Yin Feng. Let's attack together and kill this person. This person is lawless. Yin Feng roared. However, other than the young man from before, the others did not make a move. In the Dragon God Valley, the competition was very fierce. Many local disciples were competitors with Yin Feng, so they were happy to see him suffer. Boom! 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 Lu Ming's fists were like a mountain as he continuously threw out a few punches. Yin Feng was barely able to block a few of them. After being punched in the stomach by Lu Ming, Yin Feng's eyeballs almost popped out as he vomited a large mouthful of blood. Slap! Lu Ming slapped Yin Feng's face. The terrifying force almost caused Yin Feng's head to explode. There was a loud bang in his head and he fell to the ground. How could this be? The young man who attacked Lu Ming earlier narrowed his eyes. Yin Feng's battle strength was about the same as his, but he was defeated by Lu Ming in a few moves. This caused him to be greatly shocked as he quickly retreated. Now, do you think you can retreat? Lu Ming said coldly as he circulated his wind origin technique and rushed towards the other party. The result was as expected. After a few moves, the other party ended up in the same state as Yin Feng. He was beaten into a dead dog, lying weakly on the ground. Now, someone can scout the way. Lu Ming said softly. He carried Yin Feng and the young man and walked towards the edge of the abyss. Kid, what are you trying to do? The elders have warned us to be united. You injured your fellow disciples and now you want to harm your fellow disciples, going against the elders' orders. When we get out, I will report this to the sect. Yin Feng yelled. He was the one who wanted to deal with Lu Ming. Previously, in the tunnel, he activated the inscription and wanted to kill Lu Ming. Later on, he wanted Lu Ming to scout the way. He was the one who started everything. Now, he was slandering Lu Ming for harming his fellow disciples. Lu Ming was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. He grabbed the two of them and walked to the edge of the abyss. No, 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 I'm warning you, Yin Feng and the other young man almost peed in their pants. They roared crazily and struggled with all their might. However, Lu Ming had already sealed their cultivation with his true origin technique. No matter how they struggled, it was useless. Then, Lu Ming threw the two of them out. They flew towards a different bridge. Didn't the two of them want to scout the way? Then let the two of them test it out. The two of them screamed crazily in the air. One of them was hoarse and the other was miserable. It was worse than a pig being slaughtered. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two of them flew along the bridge and landed on the other side, falling to the ground. After falling, the two of them were still screaming. Are they okay? Everyone was stunned. The two of them were fine. Weren't they supposed to die? Logically speaking, there was only one way out. How could there be two? Let's try again. Lu Ming moved and grabbed a few young men who had been knocked down by him just now. He threw them along the other bridges while they were screaming. The few of them flew over one by one, and nothing happened to them. Then, Lu Ming tried the 10 bridges one by one. They were all fine. So it's just to scare people. It's fine at all. Let's go. The young men of Dragon God Valley cursed and rushed over the bridges. They were all fine. The 10 bridges were just to scare people. Lu Ming touched his nose. Why did it seem like a prank? Damn it, damn it. Yin Feng and the young man with the innate spirit body screamed crazily in their hearts. This time, they had lost a lot of face. Just now, when the two of them were facing the threat of death, they screamed and yelled. They looked really pathetic. Moreover, they would not be able to raise their heads in front of so many people. They blamed all of this on Lu Ming. Seeing Lu Ming walk onto the bridge, the two of them were shocked. They hurriedly rushed into the passage ahead and disappeared without a trace. These guys are lucky. Lu Ming muttered. They were indeed lucky if they were still alive. Lu Ming, Zhou Yingying, and the others crossed the bridge and continued forward. This time, they saw a door after walking for a while. They walked out of the door and arrived at a huge platform. People from other factions. Lu Ming looked around and found that the platform was very big and long. There were also doors on both sides of Lu Ming and the others, and disciples of other factions appeared. It turned out that there were many passages in the great tomb that led to this place. In front of the platform, there was a huge bubble-like object that was bobbing up and down. The shadows of mountains and rivers could be vaguely seen in the bubble. There was actually a world inside. Is that the real Great Emperor's mystic realm? It must be. This is a plane. It's normal for a Great Emperor's mystic realm to be in a plane. Let's go in. Someone flew up and rushed toward the bubble. Chapter 14:12. When they got close to the bubble, their bodies shrunk rapidly. When they got close to the bubble, they became the size of a speck of dust. Then, they entered the bubble and disappeared. I'm fine. Many people saw that they were fine after entering the bubble. More people rushed towards the bubble. Whoosh! 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 One by one, the densely packed figures charged into the bubble before disappearing into it. Let's go too. Lu Ming said as he flew towards the bubble with Zhou Yingying and the others. When they flew towards the bubble, there was a strong gravitational force on the bubble that sucked them in. The closer they got to the bubble, the bigger the bubble in front of them became. Then, their figures also entered the bubble and disappeared. On the platform, Yin Feng and a few others looked at Lu Ming's disappearing figure and their bodies emitted cold murderous intent. Just you wait. I'll kill this person. The young man with the innate spiritual body let out a furious roar. Although Lu Ming's combat strength is strong now, when we reach the Great Emperor's secret realm and break through to the Martial Emperor realm, our combat strength will increase greatly. Moreover, our innate spiritual bodies will also transform. When that time comes, we'll kill him. Yin Feng gritted his teeth and said. That's right. What's the use of having a martial saint's combat strength? When we break through to the Martial Emperor realm, we'll make him die a horrible death. The person who spoke earlier gritted his teeth and said. Their cultivation had reached the peak of the Martial Saint realm and they could break through to the Martial Emperor realm at any time. Moreover, their identities were not ordinary. They had strong people behind them and were ready to break through to the Martial Emperor realm. They were 100% confident that they could break through to the Martial Emperor realm. Moreover, the innate spiritual bodies would transform when they broke through to the Martial Emperor realm. They would reach the level of an inferior Earth spiritual body and their combat strength would increase greatly. They would be much stronger than ordinary spiritual bodies. When that time came, they were confident that they would make Lu Ming die a horrible death. Then, the few of them flew towards the bubble and disappeared into it. When Lu Ming flew into the bubble, he felt the world spin. In the next moment, he appeared high up in the sky. He quickly circulated his true essence to stabilize his body. Buzz! 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 Ripples appeared in the sky all around. Lu Ming scanned the area and discovered that there were many people in the void. There were more than 100 people in his line of sight, but he did not see Qiu Yingying and the rest. It seemed that after entering this secret realm, one would appear at random places. In the void, more than 100 people sized each other up. Among these 100 people, there were people from the 13 sections. It's that kid from Dragon God Valley. One of them looked at Lu Ming, and his eyes lit up. This person was the youth with the flame mark on his forehead from the Heavenly Divine Sect. His name was Lu Yan. Senior brother Lu Yan, our luck is really good. A figure appeared beside Lu Yan. It was Bing Kong. Huh, my luck is really good. Those guys wanted to compete with me. Once I kill this guy, the Holy Maiden will definitely look at me in a new light. Lu Yan was overjoyed. She stepped forward and walked toward Lu Ming. Bing Kong followed. Lu Ming naturally noticed Bing Kong and Lu Yan. He stood quietly in the void with a calm face. Kid, you must be Lu Ming. It's your bad luck to meet me. Lu Yan sneered, and a cold murderous intent appeared on her body. You want to kill me? Because of him? Lu Ming asked, looking at Bing Kong. Lu Ming guessed that Bing Kong wanted to kill him. After all, when Yuanlu's sect was selecting disciples in the Divine Ruins Continent group, Bing Kong was badly beaten by him. Him? You guessed wrong. It's the Holy Maiden who wants to kill you. No one can save you today. Lu Yan sneered, and a powerful aura emanated from her body. Holy Maiden? Lu Ming frowned. The Holy Maiden of the Heavenly Divine Sect wanted to kill him. However, he had just arrived and did not know the Holy Maiden of the Heavenly Divine Sect. Lu Ming, you would never have guessed that Xian Yanjuan has become the Holy Maiden of the Heavenly Divine Sect and has been accepted as a direct disciple by the Great Elder of the Heavenly Divine Sect. Bing Kong said. Xian Yanjuan, the Holy Maiden of the Heavenly Divine Sect? Lu Ming was surprised. He never expected that Xian Yanjuan would become the Holy Maiden of the Heavenly Divine Sect. No wonder he did not see Xian Yanjuan among the disciples of the Heavenly Divine Sect. Speaking of Xian Yanjuan, Lu Ming could not help but think of Xian Yanqing. Previously, he did not see Xian Yanqing among the disciples of the Heavenly Universe Demon Sect. What was going on? Lu Ming was a little worried. He decided to find time to go to the Heavenly Universe Demon Sect to inquire about the situation after this matter was over. Yes, Lu Ming. Now, do you regret offending Holy Maiden Yanjuan? Bing Kong exuded a cold aura. Regret? What's there to regret? If she comes, I will still trample on her. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Arrogant, you're courting death. A cold light flashed in Lu Yan's eyes. Senior brother Lu Yan, this person has a grudge with me. Why don't you let me deal with him? Bing Kong said to Lu Yan. You want to snatch the credit from me? Lu Yan's face darkened. Senior brother, you misunderstood. How would I dare? As long as I cripple him, whether I kill him or not, I will let senior brother decide. The credit will naturally go to senior brother. This Lu Ming has a grudge with me in the past. If I don't avenge this grudge, I will not be at peace. Bing Kong hurriedly explained. Oh? I see. Then you can make your move. Lu Yan nodded and stood aside to watch with her hands behind her back. Clang! Bing Kong unsheathed his battle sword. An ice-cold long sword appeared in his hand. On his body, the embryonic form of the ice domain spread out and pressed towards Lu Ming. Do you think you are my opponent? Lu Ming said indifferently. Lu Ming, things are different now. You are ignorant. 2 years ago, you stayed in the Godly Ruins continent. How can the cultivation environment in the Godly Ruins continent be compared to the Yuan continent? I came 2 years earlier than you and my cultivation has already reached the peak Supreme Being. How much progress can you make by staying in the Godly Ruins continent? Bing Kong sneered. Oh? Is this the reason why you are so confident? How pathetic. Lu Ming shook his head and an aura spread out from his body. The aura of a Supreme Being. Bing Kong's face changed. He did not expect that Lu Ming's cultivation had also reached the Supreme Being realm. It seems that you have made great progress in the past few months in the Yuan continent. Bing Kong said. He believed that Lu Ming had broken through to the Supreme Being realm in the past few months in the Yuan continent. Lu Ming smiled and did not bother to explain. But even if we are both Supreme Beings, you are still not my opponent. Ice Jade Art, kill. Bing Kong suddenly moved and merged with his sword. A terrifying ice jade sword mark flew towards Lu Ming. Its power was shocking. So you have cultivated a domain martial technique. Lu Ming could tell at one glance that Bing Kong was using a kind of realm martial technique. No wonder Bing Kong was so confident. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch at Bing Kong. Wherever Lu Ming's fist passed, Bing Kong's sword chi instantly collapsed. Chapter 14-13. Bing Kong felt an earth-shattering power surging towards him. This power wasn't something he could resist. He turned pale with fright. How could Lu Ming be so powerful? Boom! The terrifying power slammed into his body. He let out a miserable shriek as he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body flew far away and crashed into a mountain peak in the distance. How is this possible? His eyes widened as he stared at Lu Ming. Lu Ming had always stayed in the Divine Ruins Continent group. It was impossible for the Divine Ruins Continent group to have a domain martial skill. How could Lu Ming's combat strength be so strong? Originally, he was full of confidence. He had come to the Yuan continent 2 years earlier than Lu Ming and his cultivation had increased greatly. He had reached the peak of the Supreme Realm. Moreover, he was good at socializing. He got to know Lu Yen and the others and obtained a domain martial skill that was suitable for him. After he cultivated it, his combat strength had increased greatly, far surpassing Yi Jian and Zi Wuji. Initially, he wanted to suppress Lu Ming after meeting him this time to take revenge for what he had done to him in the past. But after meeting Lu Ming, everything went beyond his expectations. Not only had Lu Ming's cultivation reached the Supreme Realm, but his combat strength was also strong enough to completely crush him. He had severely injured him with a single move. This is your combat strength. This is what you rely on. Trash will always be trash. Even if you came to the Yuan continent 2 years earlier, you still couldn't withstand a single blow. Lu Ming scolded coldly. Bing Kong was enraged as he spat out another mouthful of blood. Hee, you do have some combat strength. But with this combat strength, you dare to be arrogant in front of my heavenly god sect's disciple? I think you found the wrong person. A cold voice resounded as a blazing aura shrouded Lu Ming. Lu Yen appeared in front of Lu Ming. Her body was covered in a golden flame. The terrifying temperature spread towards Lu Ming. What a high temperature. This person also has an innate spirit body. Lu Ming's heart moved. The flames on Lu Yan's body weren't condensed through her domain or concept, but rather directly emitted from her body. His body emitted flames at an astonishing temperature. This was something only a spirit body could do. There were some onlookers in the surroundings, but at this moment, they couldn't help but retreat. Among them, there were a few disciples of the Divine Dragon Valley. However, they all retreated coldly, showing no intention of attacking. Lu Yan's flame spirit body is extremely powerful. That little brat is dead for sure. If an ordinary person were to encounter an innate spirit body, they would only be killed instantly. There were a few people who spoke, taking joy in his misfortune. Nonsense, make your move. I don't have time to waste with you. Lu Ming berated. Since you're in a hurry to reincarnate, I'll fulfill your wish. Fire God slash. Lu Yen roared and slashed her palm towards Lu Ming like a blade. The flames condensed into a flaming saber and slashed towards Lu Ming's head. It was as if it was the fire god's saber. Its power was terrifying. The fledgling primal chaos domain coiled around his body as Lu Ming punched out. Boom! The prison-suppressing steel flashed in the void, allowing Lu Ming's punch to collide with the flaming saber. Shockwaves rippled out. Then, the void trembled, and the flaming battle saber crumbled. As for Lu Yen, she was also pushed back by the force of the impact. Is this all you've got? Lu Ming said lightly, revealing a trace of mockery. Lu Yan's face turned gloomy. Lu Ming's combat strength had exceeded her expectations. Fire God's secret art, 8 Desolation Annihilation. Lu Yen roared. Her whole body seemed to have turned into a fire god. She was 1,000 meters tall and slashed out with her saber. Boom! Lu Ming rushed up. There was no shocking phenomenon, just a punch. It was a simple punch, but the power was enough to suppress mountains and rivers. Boom! The fist and the saber collided for the second time. Dong! Heaven and earth roared. Endless flames rushed out in all directions. The flaming saber collapsed again. Then, Lu Ming stepped in the air and punched out. A terrifying fist energy crossed 100 miles and hit the fire god that was 1,000 meters tall. Boom! A big hole was punched in the fire god's huge body. The flames in the sky disappeared. Lu Yen frantically retreated. A big hole had appeared in his chest. However, he was not seriously injured. It was as if his whole body was formed by flames. At this moment, the flames in the big hole were wriggling, and the big hole was quickly mending. I have a fire spiritual body. You can't hurt me. Lu Yan's angry voice rang out. A fire spiritual body is really amazing. Lu Ming said. After breaking through to the martial emperor realm, the spiritual body was formed by blood. Naturally, it would have some of the characteristics of the blood. For example, the natural bloodline, such as fire, ice, water, lightning, etc. These bloodlines were difficult to break through to the martial emperor realm when they performed bloodline fusion. For example, if the flames were destroyed, the body could be reformed. Of course, this referred to the time when the bloodline fusion was performed. However, after condensing the spiritual body, it was even more amazing. For example, the fire spiritual body seemed to be made of flames. Even if the whole body was destroyed, it could be reformed, and its vitality would be greatly enhanced. However, there was a limit to everything. If the spiritual body encountered someone with a strong cultivation, it could directly destroy the spiritual body with a strong force. Is that so? The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up into a cold smile. He continued to step forward and charged towards Lu Yen. Flame cage! Lu Yen roared. His whole body turned into flames. The flames in the sky formed a huge cage, enveloping Lu Ming. He wanted to use the power of the flames to refine Lu Ming. Primal chaos. The light of primal chaos spread out from Lu Ming's palm. The embryonic form of the primal chaos domain was like a ball of primal chaos, wrapping around Lu Ming's fist. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch at the flaming cage. This time, the flaming cage completely collapsed, turning into flames that filled the sky. At the same time, the flames in the sky flew to the distance and began to converge. Lu Yan's body reappeared, but this time, his face was abnormally pale, and blood kept flowing out of his mouth. You can extinguish my flames. Lu Yen roared in horror. Lu Ming's punch just now had directly started to destroy his spiritual body, causing him to be seriously injured. If a few more punches came, he would probably die. What fire spiritual body? Trash! Lu Ming said coldly. He stepped into the void and headed towards Lu Yen. His primal chaos domain was the emperor of countless domains. It was normal for it to destroy a fire spiritual body. Go! Lu Yen didn't dare to stay any longer. He turned around and ran. Boom! A fist filled with the light of primal chaos blasted towards him. Lu Yan's body was directly penetrated by the fist, and a hole appeared in his body. Moreover, this time, no matter how he mobilized the flames to recover, the hole couldn't be healed in a short time. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood, but he didn't dare to stay any longer. He turned into a flame and fled frantically. Boom! Lu Ming punched again across the sky. Chapter 14:14. A natural spiritual body was indeed mysterious. Its life force was much stronger than others. If it were anyone else, they would have been destroyed by Lu Ming's punches. However, Lu Yen was only severely injured and was able to escape. What a strong combat power! The surrounding onlookers sucked in a breath of cold air. Lu Yen had an innate fire spiritual body. Without a doubt, she was a peerless genius who had cultivated a domain martial skill. This kind of prodigy could kill other prodigies of the same level as easily as chopping vegetables. However, he was completely crushed when he encountered Lu Ming. Let's go and find a place to break through to the martial emperor realm. Even if he's strong now, he might not be strong enough to break through to the martial emperor realm. Then, their figures flashed as they left the place to find a place to break through to the martial emperor realm. The Yuan Qi here was unbelievably dense. It was much denser than the Yuan Qi of the outside world. No wonder it was the great emperor's secret realm. After Lu Yen escaped, Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared in front of Bing Kong. Lu Ming, spare my life. Bing Kong was extremely shocked. When he saw Lu Ming arrive, he immediately cried out in fright. Swoosh! Lu Ming did not bother to talk nonsense with him. He flicked his finger and a spear flew out, killing Bing Kong. Rumble! At that moment, a violent explosion sounded in the distance. Lightning flashed across 10,000 miles, as if it was going to tear the heavens and earth apart. Lu Ming looked into the distance and saw dark clouds gathering. A figure was resisting the lightning under the dark clouds. Someone is trying to break through to the martial emperor realm so soon. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. It was obvious that someone was trying to break through to the martial emperor realm, going through the martial emperor tribulation. Normally, no one would dare to disturb someone who was going through the tribulation. Otherwise, they would be implicated. Therefore, when someone was going through the tribulation, they would not have any scruples. No one would dare to disturb them and they would stay far away. Rumble! Dark clouds gathered and 10,000 lightning cauldrons fell from the sky, covering the figure. The martial emperor tribulation was extremely terrifying. The figure roared to the sky and resisted the tribulation. Lu Ming watched for a while before leaving. He needed to find a place to cultivate and break through to the martial emperor realm. Rumble! Before he could fly far, another loud sound rang out in front of him. Thousands of thunderbolts scattered. Another person was transcending the tribulation to become a ruler. Boom! Boom! Then, Lu Ming heard thunderous booms coming from many directions. They were all transcending the tribulation and breaking through to become rulers. This time, several 100,000 people had entered, and many of them had reached the limit of the Supreme Being level. In particular, the local youths were suppressing their cultivations. Otherwise, they would have broken through to become rulers long ago. They had suppressed their cultivation in order to enter the Great Emperor's mystic realm. Now that they had entered the Great Emperor's mystic realm, they no longer needed to suppress their cultivation. They all began to break through to the martial emperor realm. Once they broke through to the martial emperor realm, they would gain the upper hand. Go! Lu Ming turned into a beam of light and left the area. After flying for more than 2 hours, Lu Ming arrived at a desolate mountain. He dug a cave in one of the mountains. Lu Ming flew in and blocked the cave. Then, he sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. First, Lu Ming had to adjust his condition to the extreme and find an opportunity to condense his spirit body and break through to the next realm. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Lu Ming was like a rock, sitting there cross-legged and motionless. The aura on his body became more and more condensed and smooth. However, Lu Ming still did not find the feeling, the opportunity to break through. According to the primal chaos scripture, every breakthrough is 10 times or 100 times more difficult than others. There's no rush. I'll take it slow. Lu Ming had many thoughts in his mind. His anxious heart gradually calmed down and he entered an ethereal state. In the blink of an eye, another 7 days passed. Suddenly, Lu Ming opened his eyes. It's done. A smile appeared on Lu Ming's face. Immediately, he activated the Dragon God Battle Body's Exuberance chapter. Roar! The 9 dragons' bloodline appeared. Then, the 9 dragons' bloodline wrapped around Lu Ming's body. The 9 dragons' bloodline emitted a layer of blood light. This blood light constantly seeped into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming wanted to condense the 9 dragons' bloodline into his body and merge it with his physical body to cultivate the Dragon God Battle Body. The Dragon God Battle Body technique was activated. The power of the 9 dragons' bloodline constantly fused into Lu Ming's body. The stronger the bloodline, the more difficult it was to refine the bloodline. Moreover, there was a certain danger. Because the bloodline was already very powerful at this point, it could easily burst the body. This was also a step that many people found difficult to take. Fortunately, Lu Ming had already cultivated the pure spirit body and had reached 100% mastery. With the pure spirit body as the foundation, this step was not difficult for Lu Ming. The 9 dragons' bloodline constantly turned into blood light and fused into Lu Ming's body. It was extremely fast. In less than an hour, the 9 dragons' bloodline had completely faded. Then, with a bang, the 9 dragons' bloodline collapsed and turned into a ball of blood light that drilled into Lu Ming's body. The 9 dragons' power in the 9 dragons' bloodline naturally fused into Lu Ming's body and became a part of Lu Ming's strength. Roar! At this moment, a series of dragon roars sounded from Lu Ming's body. However, the Dragon God Battle Body had not been successfully cultivated yet. It still needed to be tempered by the heavenly tribulation. Only by going through the heavenly tribulation could it be considered a success. Whoosh! Lu Ming rushed out of the cave with full force. Come on! Lu Ming's eyes were bright as he stared at the sky. Whoosh! Dark clouds suddenly appeared in the sky. These dark clouds seemed to have appeared out of thin air. Hiss! Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the dark clouds. Countless bolts of lightning swam in the dark clouds like silver snakes. A powerful pressure spread down, and the world was filled with an oppressive aura. It made people feel as if a great disaster was about to befall them. Rumble! In the sky, more and more dark clouds gathered, covering an area of 100 miles. The range is so big? Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Previously, Lu Ming had seen no less than 10 people transcending their heavenly tribulations. Their emperor's tribulations were usually covered by dark clouds, and the bigger ones were about 10 miles. However, Lu Ming's tribulation covered an area of 100 miles, and it was still increasing. What's going on? Someone is about to become an emperor and is about to transcend the tribulation. But what's with these tribulation clouds? So big? It's actually more than 100 miles. Who's transcending the tribulation? Is it an innate spiritual body? The aura of Lu Ming's tribulation cloud was too shocking. It covered an area of more than 100 miles, but the pressure spread out for 100,000 miles. Many people sensed it. They were incredibly shocked and flew over. Maybe it's really an innate spiritual body, but why is it still increasing? The range of an innate spiritual body's tribulation cloud isn't so terrifying, right? Chapter 14-15. The more heaven-defying a person was, the more powerful the heavenly tribulation would be. Innate spirit bodies were heaven-defying and did not belong to the mortal body. Therefore, the power of the heavenly tribulation would be the most terrifying. However, the range of Lu Ming's tribulation cloud had already exceeded the range of an ordinary innate spirit body. Soon, the range of Lu Ming's tribulation cloud had reached 200 miles. Thick dark clouds filled the sky and covered the sun. The aura made people feel like a disaster was imminent. Bolts of lightning swam in the dark clouds. Some of the bolts of lightning were as big as mountains. Lu Ming looked very small in front of them. In the distance, more and more people were alarmed by the tribulation cloud. Among the crowd, someone looked at Lu Ming, who was under the tribulation cloud, with a cold gaze. He was Lu Yen of the Heavenly Gods sect. Senior brother Lu Yen, are you talking about this person? Beside Lu Yen, a few disciples of the Heavenly Gods sect asked. That's right. It turns out that he is going to become an emperor here. Then, let's make his dream come true. Lu Yen said coldly. Senior brother Lu Yen, are you going to kill him when he is going through the heavenly tribulation? That's too dangerous. A disciple of the Heavenly Gods sect said solemnly. Once he was involved in the heavenly tribulation, he would also suffer. It's okay. I have just become an emperor and have also gone through the heavenly tribulation. A mere heavenly tribulation can't do anything to me. Moreover, I have a heavenly treasure. I will kill him when he is going through the heavenly tribulation and make his dream of becoming an emperor come true. Lu Yen said. That's right. Senior brother Lu Yen is going through the innate spirit body heavenly tribulation. It is an extremely terrifying heavenly tribulation. With a heavenly treasure, it will be fine. This brat is dead meat. Several disciples of the Heavenly Gods sect flattered him. Lu Yan's eyes flashed with malevolence. Rumble. The world rumbled. More and more lightning flashed in the dark clouds, constantly cutting through the sky and lighting up the world. Hiss. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning cut through the void and struck Lu Ming. The heavenly tribulation had begun. Lu Ming looked up at the sky and stood still, allowing the lightning to strike him. Boom! When the lightning landed on Lu Ming's body, Lu Ming felt a slight numbness spread throughout his body. That felt great. Let's do it again. Lu Ming looked expectant. He wanted to use lightning to condense a spirit body. Boom! 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 Then, in the sky, lightning bolts fell one after another, striking towards Lu Ming. Some of the lightning bolts were as thick as mountains, completely submerging Lu Ming. The surrounding people watched quietly. They all knew that the heavenly tribulation was not very strong at the beginning. As it progressed, it would become stronger and more terrifying. Countless lightning bolts drowned Lu Ming. He did not know how many of them struck down. It feels so good. Lu Ming did not conjure his nascent chaos domain. He did not even circulate his quintessential essence to resist. He only used his physical body to resist the lightning tribulation. As bolts of lightning struck down, Lu Ming's body felt numb and itchy. Under the tempering of the lightning tribulation, his spirit body continued to deepen and condense. About a moment later, the lightning in the sky suddenly stopped and did not strike down. However, this did not mean that it was over. Everyone knew that the truly powerful and terrifying lightning was about to descend. The aura in the sky became even more oppressive. Dark clouds rolled as if something was brewing. After a while, Si-la, another bolt of lightning struck down. However, the lightning this time was very different from the previous ones. The lightning this time was deeper in color and looked even more terrifying. Boom! 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 Bolts of lightning drowned Lu Ming. From the outside, one could not see Lu Ming's figure at all. They could only see a ball of white light. This kind of lightning was very dangerous for ordinary geniuses when they were breaking through to the martial monarch realm. They had to do their best to resist it. If they were not careful, they would risk dying. Ordinary people could become a martial monarch after passing this level of lightning tribulation. This brat's combat strength is very strong. There is still one more level of lightning tribulation, the purple fire lightning tribulation. That will be the time for me to make my move. Lu Yen, who was in the crowd, thought to herself. She did not attack. This time, Lu Ming did not resist it. He used his spiritual body to resist it and circulated the dragon god's battle body to strengthen his physical body. This kind of power is more like it. The previous one was too weak. Lu Ming thought to himself as the bolts of lightning struck his body. If others heard this, they would vomit blood far away. To others, it was a fatal threat. However, to Lu Ming, it was ordinary. He could block it with his physical body without any resistance. After a while, this wave of lightning tribulation ended. Rumble. Dark clouds gathered high up in the sky. Lightning flashed, and a purple light spread out. There is more. The next wave is the purple fire lightning tribulation. This guy is so strong. He is going to pass 3 levels of lightning tribulation. I heard that the innate spiritual body has to pass 4 levels of lightning tribulation. I wonder if this guy will pass 4 levels of lightning tribulation. I don't know. This guy's dark clouds covered a radius of 200 miles. It's bigger than the dark clouds of the innate spiritual body. He should pass 4 levels of lightning tribulation, right? Discussions could be heard in the surroundings. This time, the tribulation clouds took a longer time to brew. A full half an hour passed. Boom! A purple bolt of lightning streaked across the sky and struck toward Lu Ming. This bolt of lightning looked purple because it was covered with a layer of purple fire. This was a type of tribulation fire. It was powerful and not weaker than the lightning tribulation. The combination of the two was even more shocking. Boom! The lightning struck Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body trembled slightly and blocked the lightning. The lightning tribulation disappeared, but a layer of purple fire burned fiercely on Lu Ming's body. This was the terror of tribulation fire. The lightning tribulation could be extinguished, but the tribulation fire was difficult to extinguish. It would stick to the body of the person undergoing the tribulation until the person was burned to ashes. Lu Ming's body lit up with true yuan and began to resist the invasion of the tribulation fire. Boom! Boom! Following which, streaks of purple thunder tribulation struck down continuously, drowning Lu Ming. At this moment, a figure dashed toward the place where Lu Ming was transcending the tribulation at lightning speed. Many people were taken aback. Who is that? What is he trying to do? That's Lu Yen of the Heavenly Gods sect. He wants to rush into the other party's tribulation site. Lu Yan's sudden breakthrough surprised many people. Shwa! Lu Yen rushed directly into the area covered by the tribulation clouds. Boom! As soon as he rushed in, a purple lightning bolt struck toward Lu Yen. But Lu Yen casually waved his hand and the purple lightning bolt was destroyed. He had just passed the lightning tribulation, so this purple fire tribulation couldn't do anything to him. Boom! Boom! Immediately after, even more purple lightning bolts fell towards Lu Yen. Lu Yan's body bloomed with a layer of terrifying flames to resist the lightning tribulation. He broke through the lightning tribulation and approached Lu Ming. Lu Yen. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. Chapter 14-16. Bring it on then. Lu Ming sneered. Rumble. The purple lightning tribulation was getting more and more terrifying. Bolts of lightning tribulation that were as thick as mountains continued to strike the two. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming exploded and punched out with both fists. Fist energy rushed up to the sky and destroyed the bolts of purple fire tribulation lightning. It seemed that the tribulation clouds in the sky were angered by Lu Ming's explosion and Lu Yan's rush. They rolled violently and more purple fire tribulation lightning fell. So many lightning tribulations? But you can't stop me. Lu Yen shouted coldly and waved his palm. Saber light burst out and broke through the lightning tribulation. He quickly closed in on Lu Ming. Swish! Lu Ming's figure moved and he retreated rapidly, distancing himself from Lu Yen. You can't escape. Lu Yen broke through the lightning and chased after Lu Ming. The tribulation clouds covered a radius of 200 miles. Lu Ming was in the center of the tribulation clouds. Lu Yen was only 80 to 90 miles away from Lu Ming. However, it was difficult to cross this distance because of the lightning tribulation. As soon as Lu Yen got close, Lu Ming would retreat. Damn it! Lu Yen shouted angrily and his aura burst out. The aura of a martial emperor spread out and his body was covered in flames. His innate fire spirit body had broken through to the martial emperor realm and completed a transformation. It had become even more terrifying and had reached the level of an inferior earth spirit body. The flames condensed into a long saber and slashed out, destroying the bolts of lightning tribulation. Lu Yan's speed increased. However, the purple lightning tribulation lightning suddenly disappeared. However, the tribulation clouds seemed to be really angry. This time, they didn't even have time to prepare. Dense lightning bolts fell from the sky again. This time, there were 4 colors of lightning. There were 4 different colors of lightning, and each of them covered a different thing on the surface of the lightning. Some covered fire, some covered wind, some covered water, and there was also a sharp golden aura. The 4th tribulation lightning had arrived. This kind of tribulation lightning was several times more terrifying than the purple fire tribulation lightning. This kind of tribulation lightning was a terrifying one that an innate spirit body had to face. Damn it, I've already reached the 4th lightning tribulation. Lu Yen roared in her heart. The transition time between the 3rd and 4th lightning tribulations was faster than he had expected. Even he had to treat the 4th lightning tribulation with caution. A tribulation transcending heavenly treasure. With a thought, Lu Yen summoned a purple bead and floated above her head, exuding a light barrier that enveloped her. The lightning tribulation landed on the purple light barrier. Although the purple light barrier shook violently, it was still blocked. What a powerful tribulation transcendence heavenly treasure. It can even block the 4th tribulation. In the distance, many people revealed looks of envy. Ordinary tribulation transcending heaven artifacts could withstand the 2nd stage of thunder tribulation, but Lu Yan's tribulation transcending heaven artifact was able to withstand the 4th stage of thunder tribulation. Its power was amazing, and it was definitely one of the best tribulation transcending heaven artifacts. Lu Yan's speed increased greatly and she quickly approached Lu Ming. Whoosh! Then, he quickly retreated. Kill! Lu Yen roared and slashed down with her palm, sending out a vast flaming saber light towards Lu Ming. But as soon as the saber light appeared, it was scattered by the lightning tribulation. Damn it, I have to get close to that guy to kill him. A cold light flashed in Lu Yan's eyes. She broke through the lightning tribulation and quickly approached Lu Ming, but Lu Ming used the wind origin technique and quickly retreated, keeping a distance of dozens of miles from Lu Yen. What's wrong with this guy? How can he be so fast in the face of the 4th stage of thunder tribulation? After chasing for a while, the distance between the two could not be closed, and Lu Yen became a little anxious. If she couldn't close the distance, she couldn't kill Lu Ming. Of course, he didn't know that the 4th stage of thunder tribulation was a fatal threat to others, but for Lu Ming, it was just okay, and there was no need for him to resist it with all his strength. The two, one chasing and one fleeing, circled around the area. Damn it, kid, I'll spare your life today. After chasing for a while, seeing that she couldn't catch up to Lu Ming, Lu Yen wanted to retreat. You come and go as you please. It's not that easy. Continue to transcend the tribulation with me. Lu Ming sneered. As soon as Lu Yen retreated, Lu Ming advanced, closing the distance between him and Lu Yen, so that the tribulation clouds always enveloped Lu Yen. You're courting death. Lu Yen was furious and stopped retreating, wanting to rush forward and kill Lu Ming, but as soon as he advanced, Lu Ming retreated, and as soon as he retreated, Lu Ming advanced. This made Lu Yen furious, and she couldn't get away. After a stalemate, the lightning tribulation suddenly disappeared. The heavenly tribulation is over, and this guy needs to stabilize his realm. Let's see how you can catch up to me. The disappearance of the heavenly tribulation made Lu Yen overjoyed. With the heavenly tribulation gone, he could easily escape and find an opportunity to kill Lu Ming. But in the next moment, Lu Yan's face changed drastically. Because the tribulation clouds in the sky didn't dissipate at all, but became even thicker. The tribulation clouds that originally covered a radius of 200 miles suddenly expanded to cover a radius of 300 miles. The oppressive pressure made it difficult for Lu Yan to breathe. How is this possible? Is this the fifth stage of thunder tribulation? Lu Yan roared, a look of horror filling her face. Run, run, run! Lu Yan almost cried. She turned around and ran, trying to escape the area covered by the lightning tribulation. Caw! At this moment, a cry resounded through the sky. In the sky, a huge goshawk flew down at an incredible speed. In an instant, it was above Lu Yan's head and swooped down on her. The fifth stage of heavenly tribulation, the manifestation of the lightning tribulation. Lu Yan screamed in horror, full of disbelief. Lu Ming was still going through the tribulation. Moreover, it was the legendary fifth stage of heavenly tribulation, the manifestation of the lightning tribulation. Ordinary innate spirit bodies would only face the fourth stage of thunder tribulation when they went through the martial emperor tribulation. Only some extremely abnormal people would face the fifth stage of thunder tribulation. Bang! The goshawk that was formed by the lightning tribulation fell on Lu Yan's tribulation heavenly treasure. The light screen that was formed by the tribulation heavenly treasure shook violently and almost collapsed. Run! Lu Yan's only thought was to run as far away as possible. However, how could Lu Ming let her do as she wished? He quickly approached her. The manifestation of the lightning tribulation? Lu Ming's lips curled into a faint smile. It was not the first time he had encountered this kind of thunder tribulation. It had appeared when he was going through the spiritual god tribulation. Roar! Roar! Two loud roars sounded. Two huge tigers formed by the lightning tribulation pounced on Lu Ming. Suppressing hell heavenly skill. Lu Ming threw out two punches and sent the two huge tigers flying. On the other side, two more goshawks appeared. A total of 3 goshawks pounced on Lu Yan. Bang! Bang! The light screen formed by Lu Yan's tribulation heavenly treasure finally could not hold on and exploded. The bead also exploded. The tribulation transcending heaven artifact exploded, and several goshawks pounced on Lu Yan. Get lost! Lu Yan roared. Her complete domain covered her body and blasted toward the 3 goshawks. However, he had already gone through the martial emperor tribulation and broken through to the martial emperor realm. Now that he was shrouded by the tribulation clouds, the power of the lightning tribulation that struck him was stronger than that of Lu Ming. It was equivalent to his own tribulation. Chapter 14-17. But when he went through the martial emperor tribulation, it was only the 4th great tribulation. The power of the 5th great tribulation was beyond his imagination. Boom! 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 Although Lu Yan had sent the 3 thunder tribulation goshawks flying, there were a few bloody wounds on his body. The power of the thunder tribulation was desperately drilling into his body, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. But what made him despair was that in the sky, another thunder tribulation spirit appeared. This time, it was 2 thunder tribulation giant pythons that pounced on him. At the same time, the 3 goshawks also pounced on Lu Yan. Now, he could only protect himself and was powerless to chase after Lu Ming. After a few explosions, Lu Yan's body was in tatters, his hair was disheveled, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Wounds appeared on his body, looking extremely ferocious. If it weren't for his powerful flame spirit body and the tenacious vitality of an inferior earth spirit body, he would have been in danger. But in the sky, a few more thunder tribulation spirits appeared and attacked Lu Yan. In the end, a total of 9 thunder tribulation spirits surrounded Lu Yan and began to fight. Lu Yan did his best to fight the 9 thunder tribulation spirits. Hold on, I have to hold on. As long as I can hold on through this wave of lightning tribulation, I can escape with my life. Not only that, I can also use the fifth wave of lightning tribulation to train my spirit body and make it stronger. Lu Yen told herself as she exerted her strength to the peak and fought the thunder tribulation spirits. Lu Ming was also facing the siege of 6 thunder tribulation spirits, but he was much more relaxed than Lu Yen. The third bloodline floated, and wisps of energy poured into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming circulated his true qi and used the suppressing hell heaven skill to fight the 9 thunder tribulation spirits. Every time Lu Ming punched, a thunder tribulation spirit would be sent flying. At the same time, Lu Ming could also deliberately release some power of the thunder tribulation into his body to temper his spirit body. It's not enough. This level of thunder tribulation is enough to temper my spirit body, but it's not enough to temper my chaotic domain into a complete chaotic domain in one go. I need a stronger thunder tribulation. Lu Ming thought. If other people knew what Lu Ming was thinking, they would probably be angered to death. Others hoped that the lightning tribulation would be as weak as possible. However, Lu Ming felt that the lightning tribulation was not strong enough and wanted a stronger one. After all, this was already the 5th stage of the heavenly tribulation. Be destroyed! Lu Ming shouted softly. His body was suddenly filled with a layer of primal chaos. The embryonic form of the primal chaos domain was activated, greatly increasing Lu Ming's combat strength. Boom! 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 Lu Ming punched out 9 times in a row. The 9 living beings formed by the thunder tribulation were instantly blasted apart, turning into wisps of lightning and disappearing. Heavens, in the distance, those who saw this scene were tongue-tied. All of a sudden, the 9 living beings formed by the thunder tribulation were scattered. This was too shocking. On the other side, Lu Yen was desperately resisting these attacks. He succeeded. This guy has passed the martial emperor tribulation. The 5th stage of the heavenly tribulation is really monstrous. If this guy grows up, he can compete with the top monstrous geniuses in the Tsang state. Yes, this person has such potential. This person seems to be a disciple of Dragon God Valley. Dragon God Valley has produced another monstrous genius. Lu Ming's performance made many people talk about it. There were also some people whose eyes flickered, thinking about how to deal with Lu Ming and eliminate this great enemy. Huff, Lu Yen was gasping for breath. Lu Ming defeated the 9 living beings in one fell swoop. The 9 living beings that besieged Lu Yen also disappeared. Lu Yen was extremely miserable at this moment. His body was covered with injuries and there were still bolts of lightning running around his body, making his aura extremely weak. However, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. The heavenly tribulation was over. However, Lu Yen suddenly felt that something was wrong. After the heavenly tribulation, the tribulation clouds in the sky should have dissipated. Why were they still there? Moreover, they had become stronger. Lu Yan's pupils suddenly widened. Yes, the tribulation clouds were tumbling, as if there was a wild behemoth roaring inside. The coverage of the tribulation clouds had expanded again, covering a radius of 400 miles. Endless thunder and lightning wandered in the tribulation clouds. The terrifying aura made the people watching from thousands of miles away gasp. Sixth heavenly tribulation, no, no, Lu Yen screamed hysterically. 6th heavenly tribulation, you came at the right time, ha ha ha. Lu Ming laughed loudly. In the distance, the people watching all widened their eyes in disbelief. It was actually the 6th heavenly tribulation. There was still a 6th heavenly tribulation. They originally thought that Lu Ming had passed this tribulation and it was over. But they didn't expect that Lu Ming's heavenly tribulation was beyond imagination. There was actually a 6th heavenly tribulation. The 6th heavenly tribulation was a legendary heavenly tribulation. At least in Tsang state, it hadn't appeared for a long time. Run, run, run. Lu Yen went completely crazy and fled outside frantically. However, Xiao. In the sky, a sword light slashed down towards Lu Yen. Puchi. One of Lu Yan's arms was cut off. The endless power of thunder and lightning turned the arm into ashes. The power of thunder and lightning crazily drilled into Lu Yan's wound, making it difficult for his wound to heal. Originally, with his flame spirit body, even if one of his arms was cut off, he could grow it back in an instant. At most, he would lose some yuan qi. But now, under the destructive power of thunder and lightning, he couldn't do it at all. Xiao! Xiao! Then, in the sky, two more weapons flew down. One was a saber, and the other was a spear. They were both made of thunder and lightning. The sixth heavenly tribulation weapon. No! Lu Yan tried his best to resist, but the power of the sixth heavenly tribulation had completely exceeded the scope of Lu Yan's strength. The heavenly tribulation saber slashed down and broke Lu Yan's heavy attack and defense. In the end, the heavenly tribulation spear pierced through Lu Yan's forehead. Lu Yan screamed and his whole body exploded, turning into flames that condensed a few miles away. At this moment, Lu Yan's face was pale and his aura was extremely weak. Just now, if he didn't have an inferior earth spirit body and a fire spirit body, he would have died. However, even if he escaped just now, the result was already doomed. Swish! In the sky, another saber slashed down. No! Lu Yan let out a long cry of unwillingness. He took one last look at Lu Ming. He hoped to see Lu Ming die under the heavenly tribulation as well. But he was disappointed. Lu Ming was like an invincible god of war. His whole body was covered in chaotic light as he fought against the heavenly tribulation weapon. With a punch, Lu Ming sent a heavenly tribulation weapon flying. Puff! The saber slashed down on Lu Yan's forehead. This time, Lu Yan could no longer recover. The destructive power of thunder and lightning destroyed his body and soul. Why? This was Lu Yan's last thought. Why? Originally, he wanted to take the opportunity to kill Lu Ming. Why did he die under the heavenly tribulation in the end? Chapter 14:18. The people who were watching the battle from afar were also dumbfounded. Lu Yan carried the tribulation transcendence heavenly treasure and wanted to kill Lu Ming when he was transcending the tribulation. However, in the end, Lu Ming was fine. As for him, he sacrificed himself and died under the heavenly tribulation. Lu Yan is unlucky to have met such a monster. Someone sighed. Many people nodded. That was indeed the case. Lu Yan was just unlucky. If Lu Ming was just an ordinary cultivator, or even if he had an innate spirit body, he would have been killed by Lu Yan in the heavenly tribulation. But Lu Ming was not an ordinary cultivator. He was a monster who attracted the sixth heavenly tribulation. Senior brother Lu Yan is dead. We have to report this matter to the other senior brothers. This person can't be left alive. Some of the heavenly god sect disciples at the scene discussed with each other and then left the place. Clang! Clang! Lu Ming waved his fist and collided with the heavenly tribulation's combat weapons. Terrifying vibrations resounded through the sky. In the sky, all kinds of weapons were constantly striking down, but no matter how many heavenly tribulation combat weapons there were, they could not defeat Lu Ming. Good, this power is more like it. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He found that the power of the seventh heavenly tribulation could truly temper his chaotic domain. Every time he punched and fought against the heavenly tribulation combat weapons, there would be bolts of lightning that filled his body, helping him temper his spirit body. In his body, there were bursts of dragon roars, as if a true dragon was about to awaken. And every time he collided with the heavenly tribulation combat weapons, it was a tempering of his chaotic domain. He could feel that his primal chaos domain was transforming into a complete primal chaos domain. The seventh heavenly tribulation lasted for a long time, at least half an hour. Buzz! Suddenly, Lu Ming's embryonic chaotic domain shrank and returned to his spirit soul. But then, it spread out again. But this time, the chaotic domain was no longer in its embryonic form, but a complete chaotic domain. The chaotic domain finally broke through and became a complete chaotic domain under the tempering of the sixth heavenly tribulation. Boom! The complete primal chaos domain enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming punched out, and a misty primal chaos light shot out, causing the tribulation weapons to explode. What a powerful force! Lu Ming was delighted. The complete primal chaos domain was too powerful. It was much more powerful than the embryonic primal chaos domain. At this time, the other Thunder Calamity soldiers in the sky also dispersed and disappeared without a trace. Have you passed the heavenly tribulation? Many people had the same question in their hearts. At this moment, the tribulation clouds in the sky began to shrink and converge towards the center. Looks like he passed the lightning tribulation. This guy is incredible, he actually passed the 6th lightning tribulation. Impressive indeed, but his cultivation is only at the first layer martial dominator realm. The difference between him and the real geniuses is too great. Unless he manages to grow stronger, it's useless for him to die in the middle of his journey. The surrounding spectators began to discuss, believing that Lu Ming had finally transcended his heavenly tribulation. However, Lu Ming did not think so. He looked at the sky, and his eyes shone brightly. This was because he felt a strong pressure, which was several times stronger than that of the 6th lightning tribulation. There's more. Lu Ming whispered. The tribulation clouds within a radius of a few hundred miles continued to converge, and finally turned into a tribulation cloud with a radius of 30 miles. Crackle crackle, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the tribulation cloud, causing the sky to rumble. At this time, the spectators also realized that something was wrong. What's going on? The tribulation clouds did not dissipate but gathered together. That kind of fluctuation is heart palpitating. No way, there's still the 7th lightning tribulation? Those people guessed the final answer, and they were all stunned. The heavenly tribulation was not over, and there was still the 7th lightning tribulation. How could this be? No one had heard of anyone passing the 7th lightning tribulation in the Tsang prefecture for tens of thousands of years. There was a legend in the world that those who could pass the 7th lightning tribulation had the potential to become a great emperor. Although it was only the potential, it was already shocking enough. Ever since the disappearance of Emperor Tsang, no great emperor had been born in the vast Tsang prefecture. Every great emperor was a legend in the world. They were people who ruled over a region and ruled over the world. Such people had a long lifespan, and they were almost immortal. The ultimate goal of all cultivators was to become a great emperor. God, such a monster has appeared in the Dragon God Valley. I wonder if he can pass the tribulation. Look, it's the world refining tribulation bell. That's the world refining tribulation bell. Legend has it that the world refining tribulation bell only appears in the 7th lightning tribulation of the martial emperor tribulation. Everyone's eyes widened as they stared ahead. The tribulation clouds churned above Lu Ming's head, and countless lightning bolts gathered to form a bell. It was a huge lightning tribulation bell. Buzz! The huge bell vibrated and descended from the sky, shrouding Lu Ming. Lu Ming could not dodge the world refining tribulation bell. He was immediately enveloped by the world refining tribulation bell. There was a terrifying energy within the bell that enveloped Lu Ming. This was a refining power that could refine Lu Ming's entire body. Lu Ming sat down cross-legged, circulating his quintessence. The primal chaos domain covered his entire body, blocking this refining power. However, this refining power was extremely mysterious. Although a portion of it was blocked by the primal chaos domain, a small portion still seeped into the primal chaos domain and even into the spiritual god. Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. The spiritual god was the weakest part of the human body. It was also the most crucial part. If the spiritual god was destroyed, it was equivalent to dying. The refining power poured into the spiritual god. Immediately, a tearing pain came from the spiritual god. This pain came from the soul, which was dozens or even hundreds of times stronger than the physical body. The power of refinement was actually able to refine even souls. Block it! Lu Ming roared, gritting his teeth and persevering. He knew that if he could not hold on, the spiritual god would collapse, and he would be completely refined by the world-refining tribulation bell. Lu Ming finally encountered danger after transcending the tribulation. Lu Ming sat cross-legged in the bell, resisting with all his might. There were at least hundreds of people watching from the outside. They were curious if Lu Ming could transcend the seventh tribulation. The seventh tribulation, the world-refining tribulation bell, is extremely terrifying. It can refine everything. For tens of thousands of years, there have been geniuses in the Tsang prefecture who have faced such a tribulation, but they were all refined by the world-refining tribulation bell. That's right. It's too difficult to transcend the seventh tribulation. Some people sighed. Time passed slowly. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, in the blink of an eye, 10 hours had passed. Lu Ming was still persevering in the world-refining tribulation bell. At this moment, Lu Ming's appearance was extremely terrifying. All the muscles in his body seemed to have been corroded, leaving only a skeleton. The refining power had even begun to refine his bones. Chapter 14:19. However, Lu Ming did not give up. He continued to resist and persevere. Time flew by quickly. 10 hours passed. Another 10 hours passed. Lu Ming's bones were about to be refined. Only the chaotic domain was still covering him. The soul fluctuation in the spiritual deity was extremely weak. As time passed, it became weaker and weaker. If Lu Ming's original soul power was equivalent to the moon, then Lu Ming's soul power was equivalent to a firefly. Another 10 hours passed. Lu Ming had been trapped in the world-refining calamity bell for 30 hours. At this time, Lu Ming's physical body had completely disappeared. He had been refined by the world-refining calamity bell. Phew, at that moment, the black clouds in the sky slowly dispersed and disappeared. The world refinement calamity bell below also dissipated with a bang. As for Lu Ming, he was nowhere to be seen. There was no one in the sky. He had vanished into thin air. The heavenly tribulation has passed. Where is he? There is no one. It seems like this person did not pass the seventh stage of heavenly tribulation and was refined by the world refining calamity bell. It's a pity that a monstrous talent of a generation died under the heavenly tribulation. I just said that no matter how monstrous a talent is, it's useless if he doesn't grow up. Sighs could be heard all around. Some people felt pity for Lu Ming. A monstrous talent of a generation had fallen under the heavenly tribulation. However, there were also people who were mocking and even gloating. Let's go. We have already wasted too much time looking for the treasure left behind by the great emperor. Some people spoke. Soon, there was no one left in this area. The sky was quiet. It was as if everything that had happened before was just an illusion. 2 hours later, a light spot suddenly lit up at the place where Lu Ming had just gone through the heavenly tribulation. At first, the light spot was still a little dim. However, it slowly became brighter and more resplendent. At first, it was like a firefly. Slowly, it became like a candle. Then, it became like the stars, the sun, and the moon. A terrifying attractive force was born from the light spot. The origin chi within a radius of tens of thousands of miles gathered towards the light spot. The light spot was like a black hole, devouring the origin chi. Hoo-hoo! Endless yuan chi converged as the light spot slowly took shape. It was a humanoid figure, a spiritual deity, Lu Ming's spiritual deity. Lu Ming hadn't died. He hadn't been refined. Earlier, when the tribulation clouds and the world refining tribulation bell disappeared, it wasn't because Lu Ming had been refined and died. It was because Lu Ming had succeeded in transcending the tribulation. At this moment, Lu Ming was recovering. The suction force grew stronger and stronger. The origin energy within tens of thousands of miles was incredibly dense. Slowly, the origin energy around Lu Ming's spiritual divinity turned into liquid. The liquid wriggled and began to condense into a physical body. Lu Ming's physical body. Roar! A dragon's roar shook the 9 heavens. Between heaven and earth, an illusory image of 9 dragons appeared, then entered Lu Ming's body and disappeared. Half a day later, Lu Ming's body completely appeared in the sky. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes. With a thought, a set of clothes appeared and he put them on. I finally endured it. What a terrifying world-refining tribulation bell. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. Facing the corpse-refining tribulation bell, even Lu Ming had a narrow escape. In the end, he had endured it with his strong willpower. The world-refining tribulation bell was said to be able to refine the world. Its refining power was too terrifying. Not only could it refine the physical body, but it could also refine the spiritual deity and soul. However, after enduring it, the benefits were great. Lu Ming's current cultivation had completely surpassed the spiritual deity realm. He had entered the martial emperor realm. Now, he was in the early first layer of the martial emperor realm. Boom! Lu Ming got up and threw a punch. There was a loud rumbling sound in the sky. A fist force flew out and pierced a huge hole in a mountain peak. The hole was so big that it could be seen from front to back. This was the Yuan continent, the great emperor's mystic realm. It was not the godly ruins continent. Everything in the world was incomparably solid. Lu Ming could punch a hole in a mountain. How terrifying was his power! Moreover, it was only the strength of his physical body. There is actually a faint chaotic chi in my physical body. Lu Ming carefully sensed it and a trace of amazement appeared in his eyes. Within his muscles and bones, there was a faint aura of primal chaos. Although it was very faint, it was indeed primal chaos. Lu Ming's spiritual body had also reached the level of an inferior earth spiritual body. It was the same as what was recorded in the divine dragon battle body. However, because of the chaotic chi in his physical body, Lu Ming's spiritual body was stronger than an ordinary inferior earth spiritual body. My soul has also been greatly enhanced and tempered. What made Lu Ming the happiest was his soul. He could feel that his current soul, be it in terms of toughness, strength, or soul power, was many times stronger than before. It was at least 10 times stronger. One was heaven and the other was earth. According to Lu Ming's knowledge, it was extremely difficult to enhance one's soul. It was more than 100 times more difficult than enhancing one's martial cultivation. The stronger the soul, the stronger the spiritual god's vitality. Even if the spiritual god was injured, it would not die easily. In short, Lu Ming had successfully broken through to the martial royal realm and his strength had increased tremendously in all aspects. I wonder how my combat strength is now. Lu Ming was looking forward to it. Lu Ming was confident that if he returned to the continent of God now, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill the 4th-level martial emperors of the continent of God. Of course, the martial royal realm of the Yuan continent was much stronger than the godly ruins continent. Lu Ming had not fought with them before, so it was hard to estimate. Also, Lu Ming stretched out his palm and faced the void. Phew! Suddenly, a terrifying devouring power erupted from Lu Ming's palm. The origin chi between heaven and earth frantically gathered towards Lu Ming. Devouring power, the devouring power of the 9 dragons. According to the records of the dragon god's battle body, the dragon god's battle body that was formed from the 9 dragons retained the devouring power. Now, Lu Ming's body could erupt with devouring power at any time. It was more convenient than before. This way, my cultivation will be faster. Lu Ming smiled. With a thought, the devouring power disappeared. It has been more than 10 days since I entered the Great Emperor's secret realm. It's time for me to take action. I can't come to the Great Emperor's secret realm in vain. Lu Ming smiled and stepped into the air, disappearing from the place. The Great Emperor's mystic realm was a plain. It was vast and boundless and there were vast mountains everywhere. Lu Ming's speed was very fast. The mountains below him flashed past in a flash. There's a building. Suddenly, Lu Ming saw a building halfway up a mountain. Lu Ming flew down. It was a palace. It looked very old, but it was in good condition. It was obvious that someone had lived in it in the past. Lu Ming stepped in. The palace was quiet and empty. Lu Ming walked around but found nothing. Even if there was something here, it must have been taken away by someone else. Chapter 14:20. Next, Lu Ming saw a few places with buildings, but he didn't find anything after entering. There were also traces of fighting in some places. Obviously, someone had come earlier and taken the things in the palace. The Great Emperor's secret realm can't only be inhabited by the Great Emperor. It's said that there are many saints under the Great Emperor. As for the emperors, they're just servants. Lu Ming thought to himself. Even if he couldn't get the treasures left behind by the Great Emperor, it would be a great gain if he could get the treasures left behind by the saints. Obviously, the buildings that Lu Ming saw were the residences of the Great Emperor's subordinates. Soon, Lu Ming saw a cave dwelling in a valley. It was obviously a cave dwelling where a martial artist cultivated in seclusion. Lu Ming walked toward the cave dwelling. Whoosh! Just as Lu Ming was approaching the cave dwelling, a sword light shot out from the cave dwelling and went straight for Lu Ming's throat. The sword was sharp, and it was definitely an emperor. Clang! Lu Ming stretched out a finger and flicked it at the long sword. The long sword buzzed and vibrated violently before it was sent flying. "It's you, Lu Ming." A delicate voice sounded. Lu Ming looked and was stunned. "Lady Qiu." It was Qiu Yingying who attacked Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, I'm sorry. I thought it was someone else." Qiu Yingying looked at Lu Ming apologetically. "It's okay. Where's your brother?" Lu Ming asked. "My brother is cultivating inside. In this cave abode, there is a heavenly Tao mark left by an expert." Qiu Yingying said. "A heaven path mark?" Lu Ming's eyes lit up. "That's right. You'll know when you come in," Qiu Yingying said. Lu Ming nodded and entered the cave dwelling with Qiu Yingying. The cave dwelling was very spacious. There was a mark on one of the walls that seemed to have been carved by someone's finger. Lu Ming glanced at it and was deeply attracted. This mark was like the embodiment of the Great Tao. One could comprehend the profundities of the Great Tao from this mark. It was very difficult for martial emperors to raise their strength. First, he had to comprehend the domain. Domains were divided into 9 levels. It corresponded to the 9th layer of the martial emperor realm. Only when one's domain improved could one's cultivation increase. However, in order to increase one's cultivation base, one needed not only to refine one's true essence but also to refine one's spirit body. Therefore, every step forward in the martial emperor realm was not easy. As for these great Tao marks, they were carved into the stone walls by powerhouses when they were comprehending the heavenly Tao. Later generations could correspond to these marks and comprehend the heavenly Tao. From the heavenly Tao, they could comprehend their own domain and achieve the goal of improving their domain. After watching for a while, Lu Ming took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Below the stone wall, a figure sat cross-legged, quietly comprehending. It was obvious that Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao had also passed the martial emperor tribulation and broken through to the martial emperor realm. Qiu Hao must have been comprehending the heavenly Tao marks and Qiu Yingying was guarding for him. Qiu Yingying attacked when she saw someone coming. "Miss Qiu, Brother Qiu is comprehending. Let's guard outside the cave. I'm afraid we'll disturb him if we stay here," Lu Ming said. "Okay." Qiu Yingying nodded and walked out of the cave with Lu Ming. They waited quietly outside the cave. About 3 hours later, Qiu Hao walked out of the cave. He was overjoyed when he saw Lu Ming. "Brother, you finished comprehending?" Qiu Yingying asked. "Yes. The heavenly Tao marks are not very profound. Moreover, with my comprehension ability, I can only comprehend up to this point." Qiu Hao nodded and sighed. "Brother Lu, go ahead and comprehend. I've already comprehended them before. Big brother and I will guard for you," Qiu Yingying said. "Okay." Lu Ming nodded and walked into the cave abode. He sat cross-legged under the notch and stared intently at it. Buzz! In Lu Ming's eyes, the notch began to change. It turned into wisps of Dao aura. It was extremely mysterious. Lu Ming sensed it carefully and verified it with his own chaotic domain. The chaotic domain was the king of all domains. However, no matter how mysterious it was still a part of the great path of heaven and earth. It also needed to be comprehended from the great path of heaven and earth. Gradually, Lu Ming entered an ethereal state. Primal chaos is the beginning of all things and also the end of all things. As time passed, Lu Ming's body emitted a layer of chaotic light. The Qiu siblings sat cross-legged outside the cave to guard Lu Ming. Suddenly, the siblings opened their eyes at the same time and looked into the distance. 2 streaks of light streaked across the sky and flew toward them. Then, the streaks of light faded and 2 young men appeared in the sky. There's an ancient cave abode here. We're in luck. One of the young men smiled. The 2 of them descended from the sky and looked at Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao. We want this place. Get out of here. The other young man waved his hand casually. We found this place first. Also, we have a friend who is cultivating inside. Qiu Yingying explained. Nonsense. So what if you found it first? Get out of here with your friend. The young man from before scolded. Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao's faces darkened. The other party was too overbearing. They wanted to take the place as soon as they arrived and told Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao to get out of here. My friend is cultivating. When he's done, we'll leave. Qiu Hao said. Nonsense. We don't have time to wait for you. If you don't leave, you'll stay here forever. The young man from before said coldly. A domain spread out from his body. Whoosh! His body flashed and attacked Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao. The other young man did not attack. He just watched with a sneer. Qiu Yingying. Falling flowers and flowing water. Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao had no choice but to fight back. Both of them cultivated the water domain. Their domains spread out and formed numerous water dragons that wrapped around each other. People from the Divine Dragon Valley. Humph, Divine Dragon Valley is always going against the Divine Dragon sect. You're courting death. The young man from before snorted. He waved his hand and countless rays of light cut through the water dragons. He then attacked Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao. Domain martial technique. Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao's faces changed. They quickly spread out their domains and formed 2 water shields in front of them. Bam! 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 The rays of light cut through the water shields. The shields shook violently and were on the verge of collapsing. Break! The young man from before, who was from the Divine Dragon sect, pressed his palm down again. An even stronger ray of light burst out and pressed down on the Qiu siblings. Boom! This time, the water shield could no longer withstand the attack and exploded with a loud bang. The siblings let out a muffled groan as their bodies were sent flying. They crashed into the wall and spat out large mouthfuls of blood. How dare you stop me? You're courting death. The young man from the Divine Dragon sect strode toward the Qiu siblings, his face cold. I'll go in and have a look. Chapter 1421. As soon as he saw Lu Ming, the Heavenly God sect youth's expression changed. However, when he realized that Lu Ming was cultivating, his face was filled with surprise and ferocity. It's this brat. Even senior brother Lu Yen is no match for him. However, it's thanks to heaven's blessing that this brat is cultivating. As long as I kill this brat, the saintess will definitely look at me in a different light. The youth was overjoyed. His true chi burst forth as he sent a palm strike towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming was still cultivating, seemingly oblivious to everything around him. The terrifying palm strike instantly closed in on Lu Ming. At this moment, the light of primal chaos spread out from Lu Ming's body. The primal chaos domain automatically bloomed outwards. Boom! The youth's palm strike landed on the primal chaos domain. Immediately, his body shook violently. His expression changed drastically as he spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. He flew out of the ancient cave mansion's entrance and fell to the ground. Whoosh! At this moment, Lu Ming opened his eyes. A cold light flashed across his eyes. No one would be in a good mood if they were interrupted at a critical moment in their cultivation. Lu Ming got up and took a step forward, appearing outside the cave abode. Brother Lu. Qiu Ying and Qiu Hao were overjoyed. Originally, they were extremely worried when they saw another person rush into the cave mansion. However, they could do nothing about it. Now that they saw Lu Ming come out unscathed, they were greatly relieved. It's him. When the youth outside saw Lu Ming, his heart trembled. They had seen Lu Ming from afar when he was going through his tribulation. Now that they saw Lu Ming, they were terrified. Let's go. Without hesitation, they turned and ran. The youth who was injured by Lu Ming did the same. Where do you think you're going? Come back. Lu Ming's palm faced the air as he suddenly sucked. Buzz! A terrifying devouring power erupted from Lu Ming's palm and enveloped the two youths from the Heavenly God sect. They were originally flying forward, but after being enveloped by the devouring power, their bodies seemed to be frozen. Then, they were pulled back by the devouring power. No! The two of them roared and attacked with all their might, trying to break through the devouring power. However, Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and pressed down with his chaotic domain. Puff! Puff! Their bodies shook violently as they coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. They were directly pulled back by the devouring power. Furthermore, their essence blood, true yuan, and blood were rapidly flowing out of their bodies, flying into Lu Ming's palm. No, spare me! This situation caused the two of them to scream in fear. However, Lu Ming remained unmoved and continued to unleash his devouring power. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the two young men had turned into two dried corpses and died here. Qiu Ying and Qiu Hao gasped. Firstly, he was shocked by Lu Ming's combat strength. The two young men from the Celestial Divinity sect had both passed the Imperial Tribulation and become Imperial Emperors. On top of that, they had practiced domain martial skills and were extremely strong. Even if the Qiu clan's brother and sister joined forces, they could not defeat one of them. However, in Lu Ming's hands, the other party did not have the ability to retaliate at all. Lu Ming killed the two of them without moving a single step. Secondly, they were shocked by Lu Ming's overbearing means of devouring them directly and turning them into dried corpses. After devouring their essence blood, Lu Ming began to refine it. Now that Lu Ming had become a martial emperor and practiced the dragon god's combat body, his devouring power was much stronger than before. Soon, Lu Ming had almost finished refining the two men's essence blood. It's really useless. Lu Ming shook his head secretly. The energy he devoured was still useful for increasing his true yuan and condensing his spiritual body. However, it was useless for improving his domain. Domains were different from Intent Realm. Intent Realm had intent runes. One could devour and refine them into one's own Intent Realm runes to improve one's own Intent Realm. However, domains were even more mysterious. They did not have substance and were just a kind of comprehension of a martial artist. They were illusory and could not be devoured and refined. Therefore, one had to rely on one's own comprehension to break through domains. However, Lu Ming was satisfied. He only needed to focus on improving his domain. The improvement of his true yuan was still dependent on the devouring power. This was a huge advantage compared to others. Lu Ming, are you okay? Qiu Ying asked. I'm fine. How about you? Lu Ming asked. We're just slightly injured. We'll be fine after some rest. Qiu Ying said. Lu Ming, continue to cultivate. We'll protect you. Qiu Hao said. Lu Ming shook his head and said, there's no need. That heavenly Tao mark isn't too profound. I've already comprehended most of it. If I continue to comprehend it, I won't gain much in the short term. You'd better recuperate first. After the comprehension just now, the chaotic domain had improved a little. Not only was it completely stable, but it was also at the middle stage of the first level. Domains were divided into 9 levels. Lu Ming's cultivation could only break through to the second level of the Dao martial royal realm if he cultivated the chaotic domain to the second level. Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao sat cross-legged and took a healing pill to heal their injuries. 2 hours later, their injuries were almost healed. The 3 of them did not stay any longer. They soared into the sky and flew forward. Along the way, they came across some buildings and cave dwellings. However, they were all one step ahead of them. The 3 of them did not stop and kept moving forward. Not long after, they arrived at a vast land. There was a huge group of buildings in front of them. Many huge palaces stood on a piece of plain. From afar, Lu Ming and the rest could see figures flashing in those palaces. Many people were exploring this area. Such a large group of buildings. Could it be the great emperor's palace? Even if it's not, it must be the residence of a great figure. There must be treasures. Qiu Hao's eyes lit up. Let's go down and try our luck. Lu Ming said. The 3 of them flew down and landed in front of a huge palace. Boom! Boom! There was a shocking explosion in the palace. The 3 of them walked closer and saw 2 young men fighting fiercely. On the ground, corpses were strewn all over the place. Blood flowed continuously, and it had yet to dry up. Hand over the treasure. One of the young men shouted and attacked the other young man crazily. Don't even think about it. The treasure belongs to the fated. Since I got it, it means that I'm fated with the treasure. The other young man shouted. Bullshit. If I kill you, the treasure will be fated with me. The first young man shouted. The 2 of them fought fiercely, and the palace cracked and collapsed. Obviously, a treasure had appeared and everyone was fighting over it. The corpses on the scene belonged to the prodigies who had entered the place, but they were all dead now. Let's go look elsewhere. Lu Ming said. The 3 of them turned around and walked toward the other palaces. Whoosh! 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 Suddenly, numerous figures flew out from one of the palaces. There were more than 100 of them, all of whom were young men who had entered this place. Their faces were deathly pale. Run! 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 The young men shouted. Buzz! Chapter 14:22. Ah! 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 Shrill screams rang out. Most of the 100 or so people had their bodies pierced by the black light. They fell to the ground while screaming, no longer breathing. Only a dozen or so people managed to escape with their lives. Almost 100 people had died in an instant. Lu Ming saw that half of the people had passed the martial emperor tribulation and become martial emperors. The rest were still martial emperors, but they had all died in an instant. The great emperor's secret realm was not simple. It was dangerous at all times. Not only did they have to face the attacks of others, but there were also dangers in the process of exploring. I just saw someone sitting inside. Indeed, there seems to be someone, but there is no aura of life. He is dead. There must be treasures. The dozen people who survived did not leave, but wandered around. This is a formation. However, it has been many years and is no longer complete. If we can find a gap, we might be able to enter. A young man who practiced inscription Dao looked around, looking for a gap in the formation. Lu Ming did the same. He looked around the palace. Although Lu Ming could not inscribe formations because his second body had not recovered, he shared the knowledge of the second body. In other words, his main body had the knowledge and insight of the second body. Even if he could not break the formation, he could still find a gap. Follow me closely. Lu Ming said to Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao. Then, he strode forward. Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao followed closely behind Lu Ming. On the other side, the other young men also started to look for a gap in the formation and stepped in. Lu Ming, you also know inscription Dao, but I didn't feel that you have a spiritual fire. Strange. Qiu Yingying looked at Lu Ming curiously as they walked. She found it strange. Lu Ming smiled and did not explain further. The three of them walked around. After a while, they finally passed through the formation and entered the hall of the palace. There is someone. Qiu Yingying said. There was a person sitting cross-legged in the hall. It was a woman who looked to be in her 40s. Unfortunately, she did not have the slightest bit of life force. Clearly, this was a corpse. Could this be someone from the Great Emperor's mystic realm? Great Emperor Tsang has been missing for 60,000 years. Could this person have also died 60,000 years ago? Qiu Hao guessed. Their hearts trembled. If this person had died 60,000 years ago and his body hadn't decayed yet, his cultivation base would be shockingly high. Sage. The three of them thought at the same time that only saints could maintain their bodies without decaying for so many years. Otherwise, even a top-grade ruler's body would have decayed after 60,000 years. How did this person die? There's no wound at all. Qiu Yingying said. Taking a closer look, Zhang Xian was unable to find any wounds on the other party's body. His storage ring is also gone. Could it be that he was killed and his storage ring was taken away? But why is there no wound? Lu Ming also frowned, unable to figure it out. The few of them looked around. In the hall, there were some chairs and tables, but after so many years, they had already decayed and turned into ashes. Finally, their gazes fell on the woman's body. She was wearing a purple feather robe. At first glance, it was a supreme treasure. Even after so many years, it still shone with a spiritual radiance. It was definitely a precious treasure. Since it was worn by a sage, it was very likely to be a sacred weapon. Sacred weapon. The few of their eyes lit up. At this moment, the sound of footsteps could be heard. A few young men rushed in. As soon as they entered, their gazes fell on the woman. Sacred weapon. This is definitely a sacred weapon. It's priceless. The few young men's eyes were burning with passion. Then, their gazes fell on Lu Ming and the others, and a ferocious look flashed past their eyes. Kill these people and we'll split the spoils equally. How about that? One of the young men said. Sure. Kill. The few young men charged towards Lu Ming and the others at the same time. All sorts of powerful attacks were unleashed. These few people were very strong. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to escape from the array earlier. When they attacked together, their power was shocking. Courting death. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He took a step forward and a violent aura spread out from his body. Boom! 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 Lu Ming threw out a series of punches. Streams of fist energy swept across the void. The attacks of the few young men collapsed under Lu Ming's fist energy. The fist energy didn't stop and continued to attack the few young men. No, the few young men's faces changed drastically. They wanted to dodge, but it was too late. Their screams were drowned by the fist energy. When the fist energy disappeared, the few young men's bodies had been penetrated by Lu Ming and they died on the spot. Yingying, this feather robe is for women. Take it. Lu Ming said. How can I? Qiu Yingying wanted to refuse. After all, they were just following Lu Ming. They relied on Lu Ming. They entered the hall and killed those people just now because of Lu Ming. She didn't do anything, but the treasure was hers. How could she accept it? It's fine. We can't use a woman's item. Take it. Lu Ming said. Qiu Yingying pondered for a while and nodded. She bowed to the woman and took off the feather robe and put it into her storage ring. Then, the three of them walked out of the hall. There's an underground palace up ahead. Let's go and have a look. There must be some great treasures there. The three of them heard the news as soon as they walked out of the hall. Streams of light streaked across the void and flew toward the depths of the buildings. An underground palace? The three of them looked at each other and saw the desire in each other's eyes. Shall we go and have a look? Qiu Hao said. Let's go. Lu Ming nodded. The three of them rose into the air and flew toward the depths of the buildings. Below them, the vast buildings flashed past in a flash. Soon, the three of them saw a dense crowd in the air ahead. There were at least a few thousand of them. Each of them emitted a powerful aura. More than half of them emitted the aura of martial emperors. Most of the young people who had entered this time were at the peak of the 9 Heavens Supremes, especially the local youths. Therefore, they had all broken through to the martial emperor realm as soon as they entered. The rest of them had yet to reach the peak of the 9 Heavens Supremes, so they had yet to break through. The group of people looked ahead. Lu Ming and the others went forward and looked ahead as well. In front of them, a place on a plain had collapsed. A faint light spread out from it. It was a corner of a building. Judging from its shape, it should be the corner of a huge palace. The rest of the palace was still buried underground. From the conversations of the people around them, Lu Ming and the others learned that there had been a great battle here. The ground had collapsed and they had discovered the palace. Everyone, this palace is buried deep underground. It must be extraordinary. How about we dig it out? Chapter 1423. Alright, I agree. Me too. Everyone chimed in. Facing such an underground palace, everyone was very tempted, wanting to go in and explore. Alright, let's begin then. Then, they began to dig. Everyone there was an expert with a high cultivation base, so it was not difficult for them to dig a palace. They broke open the ground and threw a large amount of rocks and soil into the distance. Soon, a huge palace was revealed in front of everyone. Rather than calling it a palace, it would be better to call it a fortress. The fortress was incomparably huge and magnificent. It was obvious that the person who lived in the fortress was extraordinary. Could it be the great emperor's palace? Someone guessed. There was a stone door in front of the fortress, but it was tightly shut. Whoosh! Someone slashed a sword light at the fortress wall, but the fortress did not budge at all. It did not even leave a mark. It seemed that the only way to enter the fortress was through the door. Boom! Someone slapped a palm print at the door. The door shook violently, but it did not open. Everyone, let's work together to break open the door. Someone suggested. Everyone nodded. Whoosh! 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 Suddenly, rays of light flew out from the crowd and blasted toward the door of the fortress. Rumble! The door shook violently and began to shake. It's working. Continue. Attack! More rays of light and attacks of various colors blasted toward the door. The door shook even more violently. Crack! Finally, the door creaked and slowly opened on both sides. A moment later, the door was completely open. It was pitch black behind the door. At that moment, many people stopped and looked around. Now that the door was open, the people who were working together just now would soon become enemies and competitors because everyone wanted the treasure. At that moment, Lu Ming suddenly felt his heart palpitate for some reason. He had a feeling that a disaster was imminent. Kill, kill, kill. Just at this moment, a terrifying voice rang out from within the fortress. A heart-palpitating ripple was emitted from the door. Some of the young men standing at the front did not even have time to react before their bodies exploded. Oh no, retreat! Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. He pulled Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao and retreated frantically. Kill! 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 Within the fortress, roars filled with boundless killing intent could be heard. Their voices were filled with an intense unwillingness to accept defeat. An invisible wave of energy swept out from the door. One by one, the bodies of the young men exploded into pieces. Run, run, run! The remaining people were scared out of their wits and frantically ran away. However, the invisible ripple was rapidly spreading. One by one, the young men let out blood-curdling screams. Amidst their screams, their bodies were torn apart. Wang! A wave of energy spread towards Lu Ming, causing Lu Ming's heart to palpitate. Block it! Lu Ming set up his chaotic domain in front of him, covering Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao. At the same time, his glabella shone, and a lightning cauldron appeared in front of him. Clang! The lightning cauldron was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. It shook violently and was sent flying. Then, the chaotic domain also shook violently. A terrifying force passed through the chaotic domain and acted on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body trembled, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Beside him, Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao spat out mouthfuls of blood. Their faces were pale. However, with the help of this force, Lu Ming retreated thousands of miles with the Qiu siblings and finally dodged the invisible attack. It was obvious how terrifying the ripple was. First, it sent the lightning cauldron flying. Then, it passed through the chaotic domain and injured Lu Ming. The others were even more miserable. There were originally thousands of people, but almost all of them had died in that attack. Only a small number of people managed to survive by relying on powerful secret techniques and powerful secret treasures. They all looked at the fortress in fear. That fortress was simply a fortress that could take their lives. Could there be a supreme expert living inside? What was that roar just now? After roaring a few times, the roar stopped and did not continue. What's going on? Lu Ming and the others stood in the distance and looked at the fortress with fear. This fortress was too strange. They waited for a while, but now, the fortress was silent. There was no movement. Buzz! At that moment, a jade talisman suddenly appeared on Qiu Yingying's body. The jade talisman vibrated slightly, and then a light shield enveloped Qiu Yingying. What's going on? Qiu Yingying was shocked. Whoosh! In the next moment, the jade talisman took Qiu Yingying and flew toward the fortress in front of them. It flew through the gate of the fortress and disappeared at an astonishing speed. Yingying! Qiu Hao turned pale with fright. He hurriedly chased after them and disappeared through the gate. There was nothing unusual. What's going on? Lu Ming was stunned. Why did a jade talisman suddenly fly out of Qiu Yingying's body and take her into the fortress? All of this happened so quickly that Lu Ming could not react in time. Let's go take a look. In the end, Lu Ming gritted his teeth. The lightning cauldron floated above his head and covered his body with the chaotic field. He also flew toward the gate of the fortress. There was nothing unusual until he reached the gate. Lu Ming did not stop and flew directly into the gate. Some people in the outside world were shocked when they saw this scene. What's going on? Those people flew in, but they're fine. Maybe they're fine now. Someone said. However, for a while, no one dared to go in. After a while, someone finally gritted his teeth and flew toward the gate. He flew into the gate and disappeared. Nothing unusual happened. Seeing this scene, more people flew in. Moreover, there were still people flying in from the distance. The fortress was very spacious and huge. After Lu Ming flew into the gate, a long passage appeared in front of him. After flying through the passage, he saw some forked corridors and passages. Where did Yingying and the others fly to? Lu Ming frowned, then randomly chose a passage and walked forward. On both sides of the passage, there were stone houses. Lu Ming walked into the first stone house and found nothing. When he walked into the second stone house, he finally found something. A skeleton. Lu Ming found a skeleton. The skeleton's bones were as white as jade. It was sitting cross-legged on the bed. It gave people the feeling that it suddenly died while cultivating cross-legged. Lu Ming guessed that it should be a ruler.